Hey guys, tonight you probably won't survive this. And that's not drama. That's just honesty, delivered gently, like a warm hand settling on your shoulder as you stand at the edge of a much older night. You feel the air first cool, dry, carrying the faint smell of smoke and crushed herbs, and just like that. It's the year 28,000 BCE, and you wake up in a shallow limestone shelter, your body wrapped in layers you didn't know you needed until now. You blink slowly. Firelight flickers against stone walls, stretching shadows that breathe and shrink with every pop of an ember. The light is soft, not harsh. It dances instead of shouting. You hear wind outside, threading through grass and bone, a low whistling that feels almost intentional. Somewhere farther off, an animal calls unthreatening, but alert. Life is close here, very close. You notice the weight of fur across your shoulders, heavy, reassuring. It smells faintly of animal warmth and smoke, layered over dried rosemary and something green and minty crushed underfoot. Your fingers move without thinking, adjusting the edge of the fur, tucking it closer to your chest. Micro-action, instinctive, necessary. Take a slow breath with me. In through your nose, out through your mouth. The air tastes faintly metallic, mixed with roasted meat lingering from earlier. You feel heat pooling near your palms, where smooth stones carefully chosen, carefully heated, have been placed beside the fire and then rolled near where you sleep. Not too close. Too close is dangerous. You sense how calibrated everything is here. Nothing accidental. Nothing decorative. You probably won't survive this world alone. And that is exactly why love here is different. You shift slightly, becoming aware of another body near you, not pressed, just close enough. Close enough that warmth overlaps. Close enough that breathing synchronizes without effort. You hear it, the steady rise and fall, the soft sound of skin brushing fur. No words are exchanged. None are needed. Language hasn't arrived yet, not the way you know it, but communication is already exquisite. You reach out, not dramatically, just enough that your fingertips graze skin, warm, alive, real. Notice how that single point of contact sends a calm signal through your body. That's not romance as performance. That's romance as survival. The stone beneath you is cold, but layered. Linen first rough, early, imperfect. Then wool, then fur, then another body. This is microclimate engineering long before anyone calls it that. You feel how the shelter curves inward, how the fire is positioned slightly downwind, how sleeping spots are arranged to trap heat without trapping smoke. Even now, half awake, you understand that someone thought about this. Someone cared enough to plan. Love here begins as planning. You hear embers pop. Tiny sparks lift and die midair. You smell lavender tied loosely with sinew and hung near the sleeping area, not because it's pretty, but because it calms, because it keeps insects away, because it signals night. Ritual without religion, comfort without explanation. Before you get more comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. No pressure, just a gentle tap, like adding another stone to the fire. And if you feel like it, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Night sounds different everywhere. Now, settle back in. You adjust your position again, carefully, instinctively, making sure the fur doesn't slip and expose skin to the cold. You feel how every movement is deliberate. Energy matters here. Wasted motion costs calories. Calories are life. So when someone moves closer to you, it means something. It's an investment. You notice hands, scarred, strong, familiar. These hands have gathered food, tended fire, cleaned wounds, maybe yours. You don't romanticize them. You respect them. That respect hums quietly between you, steady as the fire. Outside, the wind rattles dried grasses. Inside, the shelter holds. Smoke curls upward and escapes through a gap in the stone ceiling. Someone figured that out once, probably through trial, probably through coughing, probably through loss. You probably won't survive the learning curve. But you're here now. You taste a memory of warmth on your tongue, broth thickened with roots, fat floating on the surface, shared earlier from the same vessel. Sharing food here isn't polite. It's intimate. Mouths touch the same edge. Trust is literal. You feel a presence shift beside you, a shoulder leaning in just slightly more. Heat increases. Muscles relax. Oxytocin hasn't been named, but it's already doing its work. Flooding systems, binding nervous systems together. Your heart rate slows without instruction. Your jaw unclenches. Notice that. Notice how safety feels in your body. There are no mirrors here, no comparison, no self-curation, no wondering how you look in this light. You simply are, and you are enough because you are useful, present, alive. Romance doesn't require flowers when someone knows exactly how close to sit so you don't freeze. You hear dripping water deeper in the cave, rhythmic, almost meditative. Drip, pause, drip. It becomes part of your breathing. Someone stirs the fire gently, using a stick smoothed by years of hands. No sparks fly. Skill looks quiet. Animals shift outside, maybe a dog-like companion circles, settles near the entrance, adding another layer of warmth and warning. Fur on fur, heartbeats overlapping, communities stacked like blankets. You realize something, slowly, as sleep edges closer. Love here is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't promise forever. It simply shows up again and again, night after night, choosing proximity over isolation, choosing shared risk over solo heroics, choosing you, because without you, survival odds drop. You probably won't survive this world, but together, you just might. Now, dim the lights, real or imagined. Let the fire soften in your mind. Notice the warmth at your feet, the weight on your chest, the steady breathing beside you. You don't need to do anything else. You're already exactly where you need to be. You weren't supposed to last. That thought settles gently in your chest as the night deepens. Not as fear, but as clarity. You feel it in the way your body instinctively curls inward, conserving heat. You feel it in the careful way you shift your weight so the stone beneath you doesn't press too hard against bone. Nothing about this world is padded. Nothing forgives carelessness. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still warm, still held within a pocket of deliberate human effort. You listen closely now. The fire has quieted into a low murmur, embers glowing like sleepy eyes. The wind outside grows bolder, rattling branches, testing the shelter's edges. Somewhere, water drips again, patient and indifferent. This world does not care if you succeed. It does not root for you. Survival is not guaranteed. It is earned nightly. You probably won't survive this alone. You sense that truth in your bones. Your skin remembers cold more vividly here, even wrapped in fur and wool. You feel how quickly warmth could leave you if one layer slipped, if the fire died too soon, if the person beside you chose distance instead of closeness. Romance, in this time, is not an abstraction. It is logistics. It is cooperation under pressure. It is the quiet agreement to keep each other alive. Notice how your body reacts to that realization. Your shoulders soften, not tense. There is relief in knowing you are not meant to do this by yourself. You feel a breath brush your neck slow, unguarded. Sleep is deep nearby. Trust is deep too. To sleep fully here is to believe someone else will wake if danger approaches. That belief is intimate, profoundly so. Your fingers trace the seam where fur meets skin, feeling the rough stitching made from sinew. Someone sat for hours doing this work, fingers aching, eyes straining in firelight, not for beauty, but for durability, for warmth, for you. Love, here, looks like preparation for a future that might never arrive. You taste smoke again, faint and comforting. It clings to hair, to fabric, to memory. Smoke means fire. Fire means life. Someone fed it earlier with just the right wood, not too green, not too dry. That knowledge was learned slowly, passed through observation, correction, and probably failure. The same way love is learned here, not through fantasy, through feedback. You imagine stepping outside alone now, just for a moment. The thought alone tightens your stomach. The darkness beyond the shelter is not empty. It is full, full of eyes, full of movement, full of risk. Your hearing sharpens instinctively, cataloging sounds. Your ancestors survived by noticing what changed. Silence could be as dangerous as noise. You exhale slowly, realizing how much easier it is to relax when someone else is listening too. This is where romance deepens, not in grand gestures, but in shared vigilance, in the unspoken agreement that if one of you sleeps, the other remains lightly alert. You don't even have to ask. Bodies learn each other's rhythms. Who wakes first? Who sleeps lighter? Who notices the shift in wind? You shift again, carefully. The stone is cold, but the warmth between bodies compensates. Heat pools where thighs touch, where shoulders overlap. It's not sexualized, it's functional. And yet, something emotional grows from that function. Gratitude, familiarity, attachment. You realize that fear sharpens love here. When every day could be your last, affection becomes immediate. There is no waiting for the right time. There is no playing hard to get. You either choose each other, or you don't make it through winter. Romance without urgency is a luxury of safety. Notice how different that feels from modern love. No ambiguity, no mixed signals. Presence is the signal. A sudden gust of wind pushes smoke sideways, briefly stinging your eyes. You blink, adjusting, and someone shifts to shield you slightly, angling their body between you and the draft. It's subtle, almost unconscious, but your nervous system registers it instantly. Protection received. Safety reinforced. You didn't ask for this. They didn't announce it. It just happened. That's how care works here. You smell herbs again, mint crushed beneath a sleeping mat, lavender tied near the fire, rosemary woven into fur. These aren't romantic flourishes. They are insect repellents, sleep aids, memory anchors. When you smell them, your body knows it's night, knows it's time to rest. Someone learned that. Someone remembered. You probably won't survive without memory. You feel the rhythm of the group around you, subtle shifts, small sighs, the occasional repositioning of fur. No one sleeps deeply all at once. That would be dangerous. Love here includes a rotating awareness, a communal nervous system. You belong to it now. Belonging is romantic. You think about injury, about how even a small cut could mean infection, how healing would require time, patience, help. Someone would have to bring food closer. Someone would have to walk slower. Someone would have to stay. Love, here, is agreeing to slow down when slowing down could kill you both. And yet, people do it. Because without love, there is no future worth surviving for. You feel that truth settle as your breathing deepens, as your body allows more weight to sink into the layers beneath you. Linen scratches slightly, wool compresses, fur insulates. Human warmth completes the system. Survival is a stack of small decisions made correctly. So is romance. You imagine waking tomorrow. Cold air, stiff muscles, hunger, but also familiarity. A shared glance, a remembered joke from earlier by the fire, a plan unspoken about who will gather, who will hunt, who will watch the young. Partnership is constant here. There is no me time. Only us time. Because me time doesn't exist when you're trying not to die. And strangely, that makes love clearer. There is no confusion about value. If someone chooses you repeatedly in a world this demanding, it means something. It means everything. Your eyelids grow heavier now. The fire dims further. Someone adds a single piece of wood just enough to last. Just enough. You admire that restraint. Excess wastes resources. Love here is measured. You let your hand rest where it naturally falls. No hesitation. No second guessing. Skin meets skin. Heat transfers. Your heart rate synchronizes again. You probably weren't supposed to survive this world. But lying here, wrapped in layers of intention and warmth, you understand why some people did. They loved like survival depended on it. Because it did. Touch comes before language. You notice that immediately. Even before your thoughts fully settle. In this world, words are not the first tool. Hands are, bodies are. Distance and closeness speak louder than sound ever could. You feel it now the way a slight shift beside you communicates more clearly than any sentence. A shoulder leaning in says stay. A hand resting open says you're safe. A breath slowing says I trust you enough to sleep. You don't need to interpret it. Your body already understands. The firelight dims further, pulling the shelter into softer shadows. Edges blur, details melt. And yet, sensation sharpens. You feel the texture of fur under your fingers coarse in some places, smooth where it's been worn down by years of use. You feel skin beneath it, warm and responsive, subtly adjusting to your presence the same way you adjust to theirs. This is not accidental contact. This is calibrated closeness. Touch here is not a prelude. It is the point. You realize how much information passes through it. Temperature, tension, fatigue, health. You can feel if someone is unwell long before they say it if they ever could. A warmer than usual forehead, a tremor in muscle, a stiffness that wasn't there yesterday. Love begins as monitoring, as quiet assessment driven by care. You slide your hand slightly, a small micro-action, adjusting the fur so it covers both of you more evenly. No acknowledgement is required. The body beside you responds automatically, shifting weight, creating a better seal against the cold. Heat pools faster now. The system improves. Notice how satisfying that feels. Notice how cooperation relaxes you. In a world without elaborate language, touch carries memory. The way someone grips your wrist while climbing, the pressure of a palm against your back near the fire, the shared weight when sitting on a warming bench of stone that's been heated all afternoon and slowly releases its stored warmth through the night. These sensations repeat. They become familiar. Familiarity becomes attachment. You hear a faint sound, almost a hum, not a song. Exactly. More like breath shaped into rhythm. It vibrates gently through chest and bone. Sound here is physical, felt as much as heard. It's soothing not because of melody, but because it signals calm. Calm means safety. You feel your own body respond. Your breathing deepens. Your jaw relaxes. Somewhere deep in your nervous system, ancient switches flip into the safe position. This is intimacy before language complicates it. There is no, what are we here? No defining the relationship. You sleep where you're needed. You touch who keeps you warm. You stay with who stays with you. Love is observable behavior, repeated consistently. You become aware of scars under your fingertips, old ones, smooth edges, healed. Each one tells a story your mind will never hear, but your body respects instantly. Survival has marked this person, and they are still here, still capable, still choosing closeness. That choice matters. You shift slightly, testing the boundary of contact, and feel no resistance. Instead, the body beside you moves closer, closing the space. Consent here is physical, continuous, obvious. Distance is the signal. So is proximity. No confusion. No guessing. You smell something faint and comforting animal fur mixed with smoke and dried grass. It's not perfume. It's identity. Everyone here smells like the environment because they belong to it. When you breathe it in, your body recognizes home, even if your mind hasn't caught up yet. Touch also teaches timing. You notice how no one startles when someone moves in their sleep. Everyone knows the rhythm of each other's restlessness, which twitches mean dreams, which shifts mean discomfort, which sounds mean waking. Love includes learning these patterns. It takes time. It requires attention. And attention is romantic. You think about modern love for a moment, how much of it is spoken, written, explained, negotiated. How exhausting that can feel. Here, a hand placed carefully on a shoulder says everything that needs to be said tonight. You place your hand there now. Just rest it. Feel the steady warmth underneath. Muscle relaxed, breath even, alive. That aliveness is not abstract. It's heat. Its weight, its presence. You realize something quietly profound. Without language, there is no lying. There is no pretending to care. Touch exposes truth immediately. A stiff body reveals fear. A turned back reveals withdrawal. An open palm reveals willingness. Love here cannot be faked for long. The body gives you away. That honesty makes romance safer. You feel another micro-adjustment fingers briefly squeezing yours before relaxing again. Not a message, just confirmation. I'm here. Your chest loosens further. Outside, wind passes over the shelter opening, but doesn't enter. Someone positioned bedding correctly. Someone thought ahead. You feel gratitude rise not as a thought, but as warmth spreading through your sternum. Gratitude binds people together here. Appreciation is not optional when effort is this visible. You trace the edge of a necklace made from bone and fiber, resting against skin. It's not decorative. It's symbolic. A reminder of a hunt survived, a season passed, a loss remembered. Touching it connects you to those memories, even if they aren't yours. Love here includes holding history gently. You feel sleep pulling you under, but you linger a moment longer in awareness, noticing how your body is no longer braced. No tension in your thighs, no clench in your hands. Your nervous system trusts the environment now, not because it's safe, but because you're not alone in it. That distinction matters. You probably won't survive this world by being strong alone. Strength here is shared, distributed, passed back and forth through touch, warmth, and attention. You feel the fire settle into its final glow for the night. Embers pulse slowly. Shadows barely move now. Everything is quieter, slower. Your hand remains where it is. You don't pull away. There's no reason to. Touch is not something that escalates here. It simply exists, steady and reassuring, like the fire itself. As your eyes finally close, you understand something that will echo far beyond this night. The most romantic thing early humans ever did was stay close enough to feel each other breathe. Shared hunger becomes shared heart. You feel it before you think it, the low, steady ache beneath your ribs, familiar and patient. Hunger here isn't an emergency yet. It's a background signal, like the distant sound of water dripping in the cave. Constant, informative. It reminds you that tomorrow matters, that what you do for each other when the sun rises will decide how warm this night feels in memory. You shift slightly, waking just enough to notice movement nearby. Someone stirs the fire. Careful not to wake everyone. A single piece of wood is added, angled just right. Not too fast, not too slow. You admire that instinctive precision. Fuel is precious. So is rest. You smell it again, roasted meat clinging faintly to hair and fur. Fat, salt, smoke. It lingers like a promise. Earlier, that food wasn't eaten privately. It never is. Meals here are communal, deliberate, and emotionally charged. To eat alone is suspicious. To share is to declare loyalty. You remember the moment clearly now. You sit close to the fire, knees drawn up, stone warm beneath you. The meat is passed hand to hand, still steaming slightly in the cold air. No plates, no portions measured precisely. Just awareness, who needs more, who ate less yesterday, who is healing, who hunted hardest. Food distribution is emotional intelligence disguised as practicality. You notice how someone tears a piece in half before handing it to you. That gesture lands deeply. They could have kept it whole. Calories are currency here, but they don't hesitate. Love, here, tastes like generosity. You bring the food to your mouth slowly, not out of politeness, but respect. Chewing takes effort. Teeth matter, jaws tire. You savor the warmth spreading through your body as fat melts on your tongue. Protein, energy, life. You feel it move downward, fueling muscles, stabilizing blood sugar, calming nerves. Sharing food is not symbolic here. It's biochemical bonding. Notice how safe that feels. You glance up and meet eyes across the fire. No smile, no performance, just recognition. A silent exchange that says, I fed you today. You are part of me now. That's romance without poetry. Romance without illusion. You hear quiet sounds chewing, swallowing, soft satisfaction. The fire crackles gently. Someone laughs softly at something small, something physical, maybe the way grease dripped onto a stone and hissed dramatically. Humor lives here too, but it's grounded. It doesn't float far from necessity. After eating, hands are wiped on fur or grass. Bones are placed deliberately aside, saved for tools, for necklaces, for needles. Nothing is wasted. That restraint carries into love as well. Affection is not squandered. It's invested. You feel the afterglow of the meal now, even as you lie back down. Your stomach is warm. Your limbs are heavier, more relaxed. The body beside you shifts closer, sharing heat again. Eating together has synchronized you further. Blood sugar rises together. Sleepiness arrives together. You realize something quietly astonishing. Hunger sharpens love. When food is uncertain, feeding someone becomes one of the most intimate acts imaginable. It says, I choose you over myself. It says, your survival matters to me. It says, I see a future that includes you. Modern romance brings flowers. Ancient romance brings calories. You smile faintly at that thought, feeling the stone beneath your cheek, the fur against your neck. Your body understands this truth, even if your modern mind finds it funny. There's something deeply grounding about love that feeds you. You think about the hunt itself, the risk, the coordination, the trust required to move together, silently, reading each other's gestures. One wrong move could mean injury or death. And yet, people go anyway, not just for themselves, for the group, for the ones who will stay behind and wait. Waiting is also romantic here. You imagine someone returning from a hunt, exhausted, carrying weight, breath visible in the cold air. The moment they're seen, relief spreads, tension releases, bodies move toward them instinctively. Food is not just nourishment, it's reassurance, proof that effort was worth it. You feel that reassurance now, wrapped around you like another layer of fur. Notice how your breathing slows further. Notice how your hands relax, fingers uncurling. Sharing hunger also means sharing restraint. No one eats everything. No one hoards. Hoarding would fracture trust. Trust is survival infrastructure. Love protects it fiercely. You hear the faint lick of an animal's tongue nearby, maybe a dog-like companion cleaning a bone. Animals eat with you. They sleep with you. They protect you. Their presence adds warmth and security. You reach out and feel coarse fur briefly brush your knuckles, another life woven into the system. This world survives through interdependence. You taste a memory of herbs again, mint brewed into warm water earlier, calming the stomach, easing digestion. Someone knew which plants soothed hunger without filling it completely. Knowledge is passed through mouths and hands, not books. Sharing that knowledge is another form of intimacy. You feel grateful again. Gratitude deepens attachment. Attachment strengthens cooperation. Cooperation increases survival odds. Love here is efficient. You think about how arguments must work here. They can't last long. Grudges are expensive. Silence costs energy. If you stop sharing food with someone, everyone notices. Conflict resolves quickly or becomes dangerous. That necessity breeds emotional honesty. Romance without drama. You settle deeper into the bedding now. Full enough. Warm enough. The person beside you places a hand briefly on your stomach, checking, not claiming, making sure you ate, making sure you're okay. That touch is gentle, practical, and profoundly caring. You cover their hand with yours, no squeeze, just weight, presence. The fire finally settles into a steady glow meant to last until morning. Someone has judged it perfectly. That confidence lets everyone relax a little more. You understand now why love here feels so intense, so grounded, so real. When hunger is shared, love has weight. And as sleep pulls you under again, you carry that weight with comfort, not burden, knowing that tomorrow, when hunger returns, it will be faced together. The luxury of choosing feels almost unreal here. You sense it slowly, like warmth spreading through stone that's been sitting near the fire all afternoon. Choice is not loud in this world. It doesn't announce itself with options or endless possibilities. It arrives quietly, disguised as consistency, as someone sitting next to you again, as hands that keep returning, as footsteps that always come back to the same place. You feel how rare that is. In a world this demanding, nothing forces someone to choose you emotionally. Survival requires cooperation. Yes, but devotion is optional. Someone could share food, share shelter, and still keep distance. Someone could protect the group and never offer closeness. And yet, they do. They choose you. You notice it in the smallest details. The way your sleeping place is always prepared with care. The way the fur is arranged so the smoother side touches your skin. The way a hot stone is nudged closer to your feet before you even realize they're cold. No one assigned these tasks. No rule book exists. This is preference made visible. Preference is romantic. You shift slightly and feel the immediate response beside you. Someone adjusting to maintain contact. Not obligation. Not habit. Awareness. You are being noticed. Actively. You think about how easy it would be, here, to stay emotionally distant, to conserve energy, to avoid attachment. Loss is common. Injury is common. Death is never abstract. Loving deeply means risking grief. And yet, people still do it. That's the luxury. Choosing to love when nothing guarantees tomorrow. You hear the fire settle again, embers clicking softly as they rearrange themselves. That sound has become familiar, comforting. It marks time in a world without clocks. Night progresses by sound and sensation, not numbers. And through all those quiet markers, one thing remains: constant proximity. You realize something else now. There is no dating here, no trial period with low stakes. Every emotional investment is significant. Choosing someone means choosing them during illness, during hunger, during fear, during cold. There is no curated version of self to fall in love with, only the real one. That honesty is intoxicating. You feel the stone beneath you again, firm and unforgiving. You feel how much effort goes into making it livable layers, positioning, shared heat. Someone chose to invest that effort in you specifically. They could have chosen differently. Let that land. You notice scars again, calluses, the physical evidence of a life lived actively. These marks don't repel affection here. They attract it. They signal resilience, experience, capability. Beauty standards don't exist when survival is the metric. You wonder, briefly, how romance feels without comparison, without wondering if someone else is better, without endless options waiting just beyond the horizon. Choice here is finite, and that finiteness gives it weight. You feel a deep calm settle into your chest at that thought. Modern love often feels anxious because it's infinite. This love feels secure because it's chosen repeatedly, with eyes open. In a world that makes consequences obvious, you notice a hand find yours again. Fingers interlace briefly, not tightly, just enough to confirm connection. Touch here isn't clingy, it's intentional. It says, I could move away, but I'm not. You breathe out slowly. The wind outside shifts direction. You hear it test the shelter again, then move on. Someone murmurs softly in their sleep, a sound halfway between a word and a breath. You don't understand it, but you don't need to. The tone is relaxed, safe. You imagine waking tomorrow and choosing again, choosing to walk together, choosing to share tasks, choosing to watch each other's backs. Love here is not a one-time decision. It's a daily recommitment made without ceremony. That repetition builds something powerful. You realize why this love feels so romantic, even without flowers or letters or promises. It is earned continuously, proven constantly. It cannot hide behind language or future plans. It exists only in present action. You feel warmth at your back now, steady and grounding. Someone has shifted to block a draft. They didn't wake you fully. They didn't ask. They simply noticed. That noticing, that's the heart of it. You think about jealousy, or rather, the absence of it. Without abundance of choice, without performative exclusivity, there's little space for insecurity. Love isn't threatened by attention elsewhere. It's reinforced by reliability here. You settle deeper, allowing your weight to rest fully. The fur creases beneath you. The wool compresses. The system adjusts. Everything works better when you stop holding yourself up alone. You feel a quiet pride, too. You are not just being chosen. You are choosing back. You are offering warmth, attention, presence. Love here is reciprocal because it has to be. One-sided attachment would fail quickly. That balance creates respect. You hear an animal stir near the entrance, then lie back down. Guard resumed. Another layer of protection in place. The group breathes as one organism now, each part doing its job. You understand something important as sleep approaches again. Romance here isn't about finding the one. It's about being the one who stays. Stays through cold, stays through hunger, stays through fear. You feel a deep contentment in that realization. Not excitement, not infatuation, something steadier, something that lasts. As your eyes close, you hold on to that feeling, the rare, grounding comfort of being chosen, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Sleeping close is not a preference here. It is a strategy. You feel that truth in your bones as the night cools further, the fire shrinking into a careful, enduring glow. Heat becomes precious again. Every degree matters. Every inch of distance matters. And so bodies draw nearer not out of romance first, but necessity. Romance follows quietly after. You notice how sleeping arrangements are deliberate. No one sprawls. No one claims excess space. Everyone curves inward, forming a loose circle that traps warmth like a living wall. You are part of that geometry now, fitted into a place that makes sense thermally and emotionally. You feel it immediately when someone shifts closer. Heat transfers. Muscles relax. Your body stops bracing against the cold. You don't have to think about it. Your nervous system understands the math. 2 bodies lose less heat than 1. You let yourself sink fully into the shared bedding. Linen scratches faintly against your calf. Wool presses firm beneath your hip. Fur drapes over both of you, heavy and grounding. The weight is comforting, like being held by the earth itself. Someone has tucked the edge under your shoulder to stop drafts. Someone thought about airflow. Someone cared. Notice how safe that feels. You hear breathing again, multiple rhythms now, layered and overlapping. Some slow and deep, some lighter, more alert. The group doesn't sleep uniformly. That would be dangerous. Love here includes staggered rest, a communal watchfulness that never fully shuts down. You feel an arm settle around your waist, not possessive, not tight, just enough contact to anchor you, just enough to share warmth efficiently. Skin meets skin at the wrist, where fur parts naturally. That exposed place warms quickly. Touch here has a job. You think about the cold outside now, pressing against stone, testing every crack. The shelter holds, but barely. Without bodies inside, without shared heat, it would fail. Love, here, reinforces architecture. You imagine sleeping alone on the stone floor. The thought makes you tense involuntarily. Your body knows what that would mean. Shivering, shallow sleep, energy drained by morning. You probably wouldn't last long that way. You relax again as you feel another micro-adjustment beside you, someone shifting their legs to cover yours more completely. No words, no acknowledgement, just action. This is intimacy without self-consciousness. You smell fur and smoke again, layered with something faintly sweet, maybe dried berries crushed earlier, or grass warmed by bodies. Smell lingers in enclosed spaces, becoming familiar, almost comforting. It tells your brain you're not alone. You listen closely and hear the soft sound of stone radiating heat, the subtle crackle of cooling rock near the fire. Hot stones were placed there hours ago, positioned to warm the sleeping area without burning. They're still doing their job now. Slowly, patiently. Someone planned that earlier today. Love here includes foresight. You shift your feet closer to the stone, feeling warmth seep upward through layers. Someone notices and adjusts the fur again to keep that heat from escaping. You sigh softly without realizing it. That sound is answered by a similar one nearby. Bodies synchronize here, not intentionally, but inevitably. Shared warmth leads to shared breathing. Shared breathing leads to shared calm. Shared calm makes sleep possible. You feel the weight of the arm around you increase slightly as the person beside you sinks deeper into rest. Trust deepens with unconsciousness. To sleep fully here is to place your life partly in someone else's awareness. That vulnerability is romantic. You think briefly about dreams, about how they must have felt before stories and symbols and explanations. Dreams here are probably vivid, physical, full of animals and movement. You imagine waking from one and feeling a hand on you immediately grounding. Real, reassuring. No nightmares alone. You hear a low sound near the entrance, an animal shifting position, nails scraping stone briefly. A guard, a companion, another warm body adding to the thermal and emotional buffer between you and the dark. You feel safer knowing it's there, half awake, listening. Love here is multi-species. You notice how your own body has completely let go now. Your shoulders are heavy, your jaw slack, your hands rest open. That doesn't happen easily. It requires conditions. It requires trust. You think about modern beds wide, isolated, temperature controlled. You think about how lonely sleep can feel even in comfort. Here, discomfort brings people together. Cold enforces closeness, and closeness builds attachment. You feel a quiet appreciation for limitation. You hear wind again, stronger this time, rattling something loose outside. The shelter responds with a soft groan. Stone shifts slightly. Everyone remains asleep. That tells you something important. This shelter has been tested before. So has this arrangement. You adjust your head, settling into the crook of a shoulder. The skin there is warm, textured, real. You smell smoke again, deeper now. It clings to hair and fabric and skin, binding everyone to the same day, the same fire. You realize something slowly, as sleep pulls at the edges of your awareness. Sleeping close teaches people how to be gentle. You learn where someone is sensitive, where pressure helps, where it hurts. You learn how to move without waking, how to adjust without disturbing, how to exist in shared space without dominating it. That skill carries into everything else. You feel a final micro-action, fingers briefly pressing against your side, checking that you're still there, still warm, still breathing. Then the hand relaxes completely. Chosen, again. You breathe deeply, letting that certainty carry you downward. You don't need to watch anymore. Others are awake enough. The fire is stable. The stones are warm. The bodies are close. You probably won't survive this world by sleeping alone. But here, wrapped in fur and breath and shared intention, sleep itself becomes an act of love. Love is written in scars long before it is written in words. You become aware of them slowly, almost accidentally, as your fingers rest against skin that tells stories without speaking. Raised lines, smooth patches where the texture changes, old marks that no longer hurt, but never disappeared. Your touch pauses there not out of pity, but recognition. Survival has passed through this body and left signatures behind. You feel a quiet respect rise in you. Scars here are not hidden. There is no reason to conceal them. They are not flaws. They are evidence. Proof that someone faced danger and returned. Proof that someone was injured and cared for. Because survival doesn't end with the wound. Healing requires time, attention, protection. Someone had to stay. Love begins in the staying. You trace the edge of a scar gently, a micro-action so light it barely moves skin. The body beneath your hand doesn't tense. It doesn't flinch. That tells you everything you need to know. Trust has already been established here. Your touch is welcome. You think about how injuries happen in this world. A slip on wet stone, a hunt that goes wrong, a cut that won't stop bleeding. There are no sterile rooms, no antibiotics. Healing is slow, uncertain, communal. When someone is hurt, everyone's routine changes. Food is brought closer. Tasks are redistributed. Sleep arrangements shift so someone is always near. That level of care is not optional. Without it, wounds fester, fever rises, loss follows. So when you see a scar, you are also seeing devotion. You smell herbs again, stronger now in memory. Yarrow for bleeding, mint for pain, rosemary for circulation. Someone learned which plants mattered through trial and error, through watching who healed and who didn't. That knowledge was shared, not hoarded. Love here includes teaching others how to keep each other alive. You imagine the moment that scar was fresh. Blood, shock, the sharp intake of breath. Someone pressing cloth against skin. Someone else holding the injured person steady. Someone watching the fire, heating stones, boiling water. Coordination under pressure. Romantic, yes, deeply. Because when injury happens, choice appears again. Someone could leave. Someone could decide the risk is too high. Someone could protect themselves first. And yet again and again, people choose care. You feel the warmth of the body beside you now and understand how earned it is. Every healed wound is a reason to trust. Every scar is a shared memory. Even if you weren't there when it happened. You shift slightly, adjusting the fur so it doesn't rub against a sensitive spot. You didn't ask. You noticed. That noticing is learned behavior here. Pain is remembered by the body long after skin closes. You hear a soft sound, almost a sigh as the person beside you settles more comfortably. Your adjustment helped. That satisfaction spreads quietly through your chest. You think about how vulnerability works here. There is no hiding weakness behind bravado for long. If you are injured, it shows. If you are sick, it shows. Love requires accepting that reality and responding to it with patience. Patience is romantic when time is dangerous. You feel your own body in contrast strong in some places, tender in others. You wonder what marks you carry, which stories your skin tells. In this world, those stories would be read carefully, respectfully, not judged. You hear the fire crack softly again, a reminder that everything requires tending, even embers, even healing. Neglect is expensive here. You imagine the long nights of recovery. Someone half asleep, waking repeatedly to check a fever. Someone feeding small amounts of broth. Someone rewrapping a wound gently, using cloth softened by repeated washing. Touch is careful during these times, slower, more attentive. That kind of care binds people together permanently. You feel a quiet emotional gravity toward the body beside you now, not desire, not excitement, but something heavier, something steadier. The knowledge that this person has been helpless before and survived because others didn't turn away. You think about modern romance and how often vulnerability is hidden until it can't be anymore. Here, vulnerability, is unavoidable. And because of that, it's normalized. Love doesn't collapse under it. You feel a hand move slightly, resting against your forearm. Fingers brush a faint mark there, a small scar you forgot you had. The touch pauses, acknowledging it. Not probing. Just noticing. A silent exchange happens. You survive something too. That mutual recognition deepens the space between you. Not dramatically, subtly, like another layer added to bedding. You breathe slowly, feeling how the night holds you, how the shelter, the fire, the bodies, the shared history all form a net strong enough to catch falling people. Scars here are not reminders of pain. They are reminders of continuity. You think about the future for a moment, about what happens when someone doesn't heal, when loss comes anyway. Love here does not prevent grief. It deepens it. But it also gives grief meaning. No one disappears unnoticed. No one is forgotten easily. You feel that weight now, not heavy, but real. Love that can hold loss is strong love. The wind outside softens. The night deepens. Everyone sleeps more soundly now. The danger window has passed. Bodies relax further. You feel yourself sinking into shared warmth again. Your hand remains near the scar you noticed earlier. You don't withdraw it. There's no reason to. Touch here doesn't reopen wounds. It honors them. As sleep takes you again, you understand something clearly. In this world, romance isn't written in poetry. It's written in healed skin. Rituals arrive before religion ever does. You feel them quietly shaping the night around you, so subtle they almost disappear into habit. No chants, no altars, no rules carved into stone, just repeated actions that signal safety, closure, and care. The day ends the same way, not because it must, but because it works. You notice it now as someone rises softly, careful not to wake the group. Bare feet touch stone, already familiar with every dip and edge. There's no fumbling, no uncertainty. The body knows where to go in the dark. That knowledge comes from repetition. They tend the fire, gently nudging embers, adjusting airflow, listening. Yes, listening. Fire speaks if you pay attention. Too much crackle means danger. Too little means cold by morning. Someone learned this by watching, by failing, by caring enough to remember. That tending is ritual. You smell herbs being placed closer to the sleeping area, lavender again, maybe mixed with crushed grass or pine resin. The scent blooms slowly, not overpowering, just present enough to cue your nervous system. Night has arrived. It's time to rest. Your breathing responds before your thoughts do. Notice that shift. Your shoulders drop another fraction. Your jaw loosens. You didn't decide to relax. The ritual did it for you. Someone passes quietly between bodies, adjusting furs, tucking edges, blocking drafts. No one thanks them. No one needs to. Gratitude here is built into trust. Everyone knows this care will be returned later, in another form, at another time. Rituals don't demand attention. They remove uncertainty. You think about how powerful that is. In a world filled with danger, predictability becomes sacred. Knowing that the fire will be checked, knowing that herbs will be placed, knowing that someone will walk the perimeter one last time before sleep. These things allow the mind to let go. Love grows best when anxiety rests. You feel a small object pressed briefly into your palm, smooth, warm from the fire. A stone. Not special in appearance, but chosen. Heated earlier, and now placed near you to carry warmth through the night. You curl your fingers around it instinctively. It fits. This is not a gift. It's a gesture. One that says, I noticed you needed this. No ribbon. No announcement. Just accuracy. You hold the stone against your abdomen and feel warmth spread inward. Deep warmth. The kind that seeps slowly, reassuring organs and muscle alike. Someone thought of this hours ago. Ritual includes planning for future comfort. You hear water poured somewhere nearby, a soft glug against stone. A small amount, enough to last the night. Hydration matters. Someone will wake thirsty. Someone always does. Ritual anticipates that too. You smile faintly at the efficiency of it all. No excess, no waste, just enough. You realize that rituals here are intimate because they involve the body directly. Smell, touch, temperature, rhythm. There is no abstraction. Everything communicates through sensation. You feel the stone floor beneath the bedding, solid and ancient. The shelter has held countless nights like this. Rituals outlive individuals. They're passed down because they keep people alive. You think about how love often becomes ritualized over time, how repetition can dull things in modern life. Here, repetition sharpens meaning. Doing the same thing every night is not boring when each night is survived. You hear a final soft sound near the entrance, a branch placed just so, positioned to snap if disturbed. A warning system. Simple. Effective. Someone tests it lightly. Listens. Nods to themselves. Ritual complete. They return to the sleeping circle and settle back into place. The group closes again, like a living organism returning to rest. You feel the shift immediately. The system is whole again. You place the warm stone slightly lower now, adjusting it for comfort. The body beside you notices and adjusts too, shifting fur so the heat stays contained. Cooperation without conversation. You think about how rituals replace promises here. There are no vows spoken, no guarantees of forever. But when someone performs the same care every night, it becomes a promise embodied. That reliability is profoundly romantic. You hear a soft clicking sound, someone rubbing two stones together near the fire, not to spark flame, but to keep hands warm. Friction creates heat. Another lesson learned long ago. Another ritual embedded in muscle memory. Your eyelids grow heavier as scent, warmth, and sound layer together. The night has a texture now. Smooth. Familiar. You reflect briefly on how humans crave ritual even now. Bedtime routines, nighttime teas, dimmed lights, soft music. We recreate this ancient pattern without realizing it. Our bodies remember what safety feels like. You feel safe now? You notice a final ritual, hands briefly touching foreheads, noses brushing lightly. Not a kiss, as you know it. More like an acknowledgement. A shared breath. Then stillness. This moment carries weight. The rituals don't ask for belief. They don't demand faith. They simply work. And because they work, they endure. Love here is practical magic. You settle fully, the warm stone steady against you, the scent of herbs deepening with your breath. The fire hums quietly. The wind stays outside. Your body understands that everything necessary has been done. There's nothing left to worry about tonight. As sleep finally takes you, wrapped in ritual and warmth, you realize something gently, without urgency. Before humans ever worshipped gods, they learned how to care for each other in the dark. Jealousy has not arrived yet. You notice its absence the way you notice silence after a loud sound soft. Surprising, almost unsettling in its calm. There is closeness here, intimacy, touch, shared warmth, and yet none of it feels guarded. No one watches hands too closely. No one stiffens when bodies shift. Love here does not clutch. It rests open. You feel that openness in your own body. There is no tension in your chest when someone else moves nearby. No tightening in your stomach when attention drifts momentarily. Affection is not a scarce resource here. It is not hoarded. It flows where it is needed. You realize why? In a world where survival depends on cooperation, possession becomes dangerous. Claiming someone too tightly limits flexibility. If one person is injured, another must step in. If someone is exhausted, another must watch the fire. Emotional exclusivity that blocks communal care would weaken the group. Love here is not ownership, it is participation. You feel a hand brush your shoulder briefly, not lingering, not possessive. Just a moment of contact as someone passes to adjust bedding nearby. It doesn't mean anything beyond itself. And because of that, it means something gentler ease. You breathe more deeply. You think about how jealousy thrives on comparison, on imagining alternatives, on fearing replacement. Here, comparison is meaningless. Everyone's contributions are visible. Everyone's role is clear. No one is interchangeable. Value is not abstract. It is observed daily. You know who brings back food reliably. You know who notices weather shifts first. You know who stays calm when others panic. Affection follows competence, kindness, presence. It doesn't compete with it. You feel how freeing that is. You imagine someone sitting beside you at the fire earlier, leaning in close for warmth. It didn't provoke fear. It didn't signal threat. Warmth is shared because cold is real. Bodies touch because heat matters. There is no hidden narrative attached to it. Touch is not currency here. It is infrastructure. You notice how your own body doesn't brace against abandonment. There's no need to. Love is demonstrated continuously through action, not words. If someone stops choosing you, you will know not through silence, but through absence of care. That clarity prevents rumination. Rumination wastes energy. You feel gratitude for that simplicity. You hear someone laugh softly in their sleep, a breathy sound, almost a sigh. Dreams are personal here, but sleep is communal. No one guards their unconscious mind behind walls of insecurity. You think about how jealousy might eventually appear later, when societies grow larger, when resources become abstract, when status replaces survival as the measure of worth. But here, now, in this small circle of warmth and necessity, there is no space for it. Everyone belongs. You feel belonging in your muscles, not your thoughts. It's the ease of resting fully, knowing that care is distributed, not competed for. If you needed help tomorrow, it would come. Not because someone promised it, but because that's how this system works. You shift slightly, and someone adjusts automatically to maintain warmth. No one asks why. No one keeps score. The interaction ends as soon as it begins. That's trust without anxiety. You reflect on how modern love often carries fear of loss from the very beginning. Here, loss is real, but fear does not dominate affection. When death is possible every day, people do not waste time anticipating emotional hypotheticals. They stay present. Presence is romantic. You hear wind again, softer now. The shelter holds. The group sleeps. The animal at the entrance shifts and settles. Everything feels balanced. You notice that affection here is not performative. No one displays closeness to prove anything. There is no audience, no validation beyond survival itself. That absence of performance makes love quieter and deeper. You feel that depth now as your breathing synchronizes again with the body beside you. The contact remains light, unforced. Neither of you is trying to secure the other. There is nothing to secure. You think about trust as a physical sensation. Right now, it feels like warmth in your lower back, like looseness in your jaw, like heaviness in your limbs. Trust here is not a belief. It is a bodily state. You realize something subtle. Jealousy requires imagination more than reality. And here, imagination is busy elsewhere watching the weather, remembering paths, reading animal behavior, anticipating hunger. Emotional imagination does not spiral inward. It stays outward, practical, grounded. You smile faintly at that insight. You think about how love grows when it is not constantly defending itself, how affection flourishes when it is allowed to be flexible, responsive, shared. You feel that flexibility in the way bodies arrange themselves through the night. Someone moves away briefly to tend the fire. Someone else fills the space. No one panics. The warmth redistributes. The system adapts. Adaptation is intimacy. You let your eyes remain closed now, resting fully in that understanding. No guarding, no monitoring, no silent questions about whether you are enough. Here, enough is visible. You are warm, you are fed, you are protected, you are included. That inclusion is not conditional on exclusivity, it is conditional on care. As sleep deepens, you hold on to one last gentle realization. Before jealousy complicated love, humans learned how to belong to each other first. Animals arrive quietly into the story of love. You notice them not as background, but as participants moving shapes at the edge of the firelight, steady presences that shift and breathe and listen alongside you. They are not pets yet, not symbols. They are companions, collaborators, early witnesses to human affection. You feel one settle near your feet now, a warm weight, a familiar shape. Coarse fur brushes your ankle, radiating heat upward. Instinctively, your toes curl slightly, responding to that warmth. The animal exhales slowly, content, trusting the circle it has joined. Trust moves both ways here. You hear its breathing deeper than yours, slower, confident. This animal knows the night, knows which sounds matter and which don't. Its ears flick once at a distant noise, then relax again. No alarm. The message travels through the group instantly. Everyone stays calm. Animals become emotional regulators long before anyone names them. You think about how this partnership began, not through ownership, but proximity. Wolves lingered near human fires for scraps. Humans noticed which ones stayed calm, which ones watched without aggression. Over time, trust accumulated meal by meal. night by night. That process mirrors romance exactly. You reach down slowly, letting your fingers rest against the animal's side. Its body is solid, warm, alive. It doesn't flinch, doesn't pull away. It accepts your touch because it recognizes you as part of the same system. Touch again, always touch. You feel something soften in your chest. Animals don't lie with their bodies. Their presence confirms safety more convincingly than words ever could. If an animal is calm, the environment is likely calm too. You notice how the humans around you respond to the animal as well, hands resting briefly on fur, legs adjusting to make space. No one dominates it. No one ignores it. It is included naturally as another source of warmth, warning, and comfort. Love here is multi-species. You think about how watching animals teaches humans how to love. Animals don't pretend. They don't perform affection for status. They seek closeness when they need it. They retreat when they don't. They communicate boundaries clearly. Early humans learned from that. You remember earlier, by the fire, watching two animals curl together instinctively as the temperature dropped. No negotiation, no debate, just shared warmth. Humans mirror that behavior now, without shame. You feel that mirroring in your own body. You listen as the animal shifts again, repositioning, so its back presses lightly against your calves. Heat transfer improves. You feel the benefit immediately. The system optimizes itself. Someone nearby chuckles softly at the movement, not laughter, just appreciation. A sound that says, yes, that works. You realize animals also anchor time here. Their routines mark the day when they grow restless, when they settle, when they wake suddenly in the night. Humans sync to those rhythms unconsciously. Love grows inside that shared timing. You notice how the animal's presence reduces vigilance. People sleep deeper when another set of senses is awake. That shared watchfulness allows humans to let go more fully. Letting go is intimacy. You think about how animals also witness affection without judgment. They don't interpret touch as symbolic. They respond to tone, posture, energy. If affection calms the group, animals stay close. If tension rises, they move away. They are honest mirrors. You imagine a child here, watching adults interact with animals, learning gentleness, restraint, timing, learning that care is shown through consistency, not dominance. That lesson transfers directly into human relationships. You feel a deep appreciation for how much humans owe animals, not just for survival, but for emotional education. You shift slightly, and the animal adjusts too, keeping contact. That responsiveness feels comforting. It reminds you that love doesn't require permanence. It requires responsiveness in the moment. You hear the animal's stomach rumble faintly. Hunger will come again. It always does. And when it does, food will be shared. Bones tossed. Fat scraped. Care extended beyond species boundaries. That generosity shapes the group's emotional climate. You think about how animals likely influenced early ideas of loyalty, of returning, of staying close even when danger passes. Watching an animal choose to remain near humans night after night reinforces the idea that choice itself is meaningful. You feel that meaning now, embodied in warmth and breath and fur. The fire pops softly, shadows stretch and contract. The animal's ear flicks again, then relaxes. All clear. You place your hand briefly on the animal's head, feeling the coarse fur, the sturdy skull beneath. It accepts the touch, eyes half closed. Content. Contentment spreads. You notice how the human beside you relaxes further too. Their breathing slows. Their weight settles more fully against you. Animals don't just guard bodies here. They guard emotional states. You think about modern life and how animals still do this for us, lowering heart rates, anchoring attention, offering nonverbal reassurance. This relationship is ancient, hardwired. You feel grateful for that continuity. You let your hand rest where it naturally falls now, on fur, on skin, on shared warmth. Everything feels connected, interdependent. As sleep deepens again, you understand something gently, without urgency. Animals didn't just help humans survive. They taught humans how to stay close without fear. And that lesson became love. The sound of belonging arrives before the feeling does. You notice it first as a pattern, not a single noise. Breathing, wind, fire, an animal shifting, stone settling. None of these sounds stand out on their own, but together they form something steady, an audible proof that you are inside a living system that knows you're here. You listen more closely now. Someone exhales slowly beside you, a soft rise and fall that your own breath begins to match without effort. Across the shelter, another rhythm answers slower, deeper, further still. An animal's breathing hums low and constant, like a bass note holding everything together. These sounds overlap without clashing. Belonging has a tempo. You feel it in your chest as your heartbeat eases into the background. Not gone, just no longer demanding attention. The night does not feel empty. It feels occupied. That distinction matters. You think about how silence is dangerous here. Total quiet means something has gone wrong. Predators move quietly. Fire dying makes no sound at all. But this low chorus of life means things are working. You are not alone. You hear the fire murmur again. A gentle crack as a piece of wood settles. Someone stirs slightly in response, half awake, confirming what their ears already know. All is well. They relax again. Sound here is information, not distraction. You notice how no one tries to suppress it. No one shushes breathing or movement. The goal is not silence. The goal is reassurance. Every sound that belongs tells you the group is intact. You remember earlier, walking near the shelter as dusk fell, listening to voices carry softly through the air, not conversations, more like tonal markers, short calls, gentle sounds, enough to track each other's positions without drawing attention from afar. Those sounds linger in memory now, layered beneath the night. You shift slightly, and the bedding responds with a soft rustle. No one startles. That sound belongs too. It doesn't signal threat. It signals life continuing. You think about how early humans must have learned each other's sleep sounds intimately. Who snores lightly, who murmurs, who thrashes during dreams. These sounds would have become familiar markers of safety. You realize something subtle. Hearing someone sleep is intimate. It means you trust them enough to be unconscious nearby. It means you accept their vulnerability and reveal your own. In modern life, we often avoid that intimacy. Earplugs, separate rooms, white noise to erase the presence of others. Here, presence is the comfort. You listen to a faint drip of water again, steady, patient. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't demand. It simply exists, marking time without urgency. You find your breathing aligning with it now instead of the fire. Drip, pause, drip. Your nervous system settles further. You hear a sudden, distant sound outside, branches shifting, maybe an animal passing through. Immediately, the rhythm inside changes. Breathing grows slightly shallower. The animal near your feet lifts its head, ears alert. No panic, just awareness. The group listens together. A moment passes. The sound fades. The animal settles again. The group exhales collectively, though no one planned it. That shared listening is powerful. You feel connected not just through touch, but through attention. Everyone heard the same thing. Everyone assessed it. Everyone decided, together, that it was safe to continue resting. Love here includes synchronized perception. You think about how much of modern loneliness is auditory apartments filled with artificial noise but no meaningful sound. Here, every noise is tied to a body, a process, a relationship. You hear someone clear their throat softly in their sleep. You smile faintly. You know that sound now. It's harmless. It belongs. You feel the warmth at your back again, steady and reassuring. The breathing there has deepened, slow and even. You recognize that rhythm too. You could pick it out in darkness. You could tell if it changed. That familiarity is intimacy. You think about how sound carries emotion without language. A sigh means relief. A sharp inhale means fear. A soft hum means contentment. Here, people read those cues instinctively. There is no misinterpretation because survival depends on accuracy. Love grows where understanding is precise. You hear the animal shift closer, pressing its side more firmly against your legs. Its breathing grows heavier, signaling deep rest. That tells you the night is safe for now. You allow yourself to sink further too. You notice how the fire's sound has changed, lower, steadier. The crackle has softened into a faint whisper. That tells you it will last until morning. Someone planned that earlier. Someone measured it by ear, not clock. You feel gratitude again, but it doesn't rise into thought. It settles as ease. You think about how lullabies might have begun not as songs, but as familiar environmental sounds that soothed infants and adults alike. The sound of a parent breathing nearby, the sound of fire, the sound of animals resting. These sounds told the body it was okay to sleep. You feel that permission now. You listen as someone's stomach growls softly in the night, then quiets. Hunger acknowledged, not feared. Morning will come. Food will be found. The sound doesn't disturb the peace. It's just another reminder of shared humanity. You hear fabric shift again as someone adjusts their weight. The fur rustles. The wool compresses. No one wakes fully. The system absorbs the movement. You realize something important. Belonging isn't quiet because nothing is happening. It's quiet because everything that's happening is familiar. You let that understanding wash over you. Your own breath becomes just another sound in the shelter, indistinguishable from the others. That anonymity feels comforting, not erasing. You don't have to stand out to matter. You matter because you are here. You think about how love here is reinforced every night by sound alone. Even with eyes closed, even without touch, you can hear that you are not abandoned. That assurance allows sleep to deepen beyond vigilance. You feel yourself drifting now, the sounds blending into a single, soothing layer. Fire, breath, fur, wind outside, kept at bay. As consciousness softens, one last thought drifts through you gently. Before love was spoken, it was heard. No mirrors exist here. You realize that slowly, almost with relief. As the night deepens and your thoughts drift inward, there is no polished surface waiting to reflect you back at yourself. No water still enough to study your face. No moment where you wonder how you appear in this firelight, whether the shadows are flattering, whether you look strong or tired or desirable. You simply are. Your body exists here as sensation, not image. You feel warmth on your skin, pressure beneath you, breath moving in and out. That's the entire experience of self. No outside perspective interrupts it. Notice how peaceful that feels. Without mirrors, there is no self-surveillance, no adjusting posture to look better, no anxiety about expression. Your face does what it does. Your body moves as it needs to. Love arrives without being filtered through appearance. You think about how often modern love begins with observation, faces evaluated, bodies compared, features ranked silently. Here, attraction begins elsewhere, in reliability, in warmth, in competence, in how someone moves through the world when it matters. You feel the body beside you again, solid, familiar, unedited. You don't know what they look like when they sleep. You know how they feel. You know how they smell. You know how their breathing changes when the fire dims. That knowledge is deeper than sight. You imagine what it must be like to fall in love without ever seeing yourself fall in love. No checking your reflection afterward. No wondering how love has changed your face. Love changes your nervous system here, not your image. You feel that change now. Your body is looser. Your muscles are softer. Your breath is slower. You are more open, physically, because you are not guarding an appearance. You hear someone shift nearby, scratching briefly at their arm. Skin flakes, hair tangles. Bodies here are imperfect and unhidden, and no one recoils. No one judges. These bodies work. That's enough. You think about how beauty standards emerge later when survival becomes easier, when leisure allows comparison, when identity becomes visual. Here, there is no excess attention to aesthetics. Ornamentation exists, but it's symbolic, not corrective. A necklace marks a memory, paint marks a story, scars mark endurance. None of it is about hiding. You feel grateful for that simplicity. You imagine waking tomorrow and moving through the day without once wondering how you appear to others. Your worth is measured in actions, how you gather, how you help, how you notice. Love grows in that environment because it's unburdened by performance. You hear quiet laughter again in someone's sleep, a breathy sound. You smile faintly, knowing that if you could see them, their face might look strange in that moment, and it wouldn't matter at all. You realize how much effort goes into maintaining an image and how exhausting that is. Here, energy is conserved. Attention is directed outward, not inward. That outward focus strengthens bonds. You feel a hand rest briefly against your arm again, fingers warm and familiar. There is no checking how the touch looks. No concern about angle or meaning. Touch is simply touch. You let yourself rest more fully into that ease. You think about how love feels when it isn't constantly reflected back at you through other people's eyes. It feels quieter, less dramatic, more stable, less fragile. You hear the fire settle again, and with it, a deeper calm settles in your chest. The night feels contained, held. You imagine how long it would take before mirrors re-enter human life, how they would slowly change self-awareness, how they would introduce comparison, how they would complicate love. But here, now, in this moment, none of that exists. You are not a face. You are a presence, and presence is enough to be loved. You feel sleep pulling you under again, deeper this time, untroubled by self-consciousness. No image follows you into rest, only sensation, only warmth, only belonging. As your thoughts fade, one last realization drifts through you, gentle and grounding. Before humans learned how to see themselves, they learned how to feel each other. Raising tomorrow together changes everything. You feel it in the quiet way the group breathes differently when a smaller body shifts nearby. The rhythm changes not dramatically, just enough to register. Someone stirs more quickly. Another adjusts their position instinctively. Care sharpens. Attention widens. Love, here, expands beyond the present moment and stretches gently into the future. You hear a soft sound, half a sigh, half a whimper, a child, not fully awake, turning in sleep. Immediately, a hand reaches out, not rushed, not anxious, just certain. Fingers rest against warm skin, steadying, reassuring. The sound fades. Sleep returns. No words are spoken. You notice how natural that response is. No one debates responsibility. No one wonders whose job it is. Children belong to the group, not to individuals alone. That shared responsibility reshapes love at its core. You feel something soften in your chest. When the future is fragile, it becomes precious. You think about how children change the emotional geometry of this place. Beds are arranged differently. Fires are tended more carefully. Food is divided with extra consideration. Risk is assessed through a wider lens. Love becomes less impulsive, more intentional. You notice how adults move around sleeping children, feet placed carefully, voices lowered, gestures softened. Strength adjusts itself. Protection becomes a constant background function. That vigilance is not exhausting here, it's meaningful. You imagine the daytime now, children learning by watching, small hands mimicking movements, gathering, sorting, tying. Stories told not for entertainment, but instruction, warnings woven into humor, skills passed on through demonstration, not lectures. Love shows itself as patience. You hear a faint laugh in memory, a child earlier, delighted by sparks jumping from the fire. Someone had gently guided them back, explaining danger through touch and tone, not fear. Teaching here is intimate. It happens close. It happens slowly. You realize that raising children together diffuses pressure. No single person carries the entire weight. Exhaustion is shared. Joy is shared too. First steps are witnessed by many. First words echo across the group. Love multiplies. You feel the body beside you shift slightly, making space so a smaller body can curl closer, drawn by warmth. The movement is seamless. No resentment, no disruption, just accommodation. You notice how your own body responds. Muscles tightening briefly in protective awareness, then relaxing as the child settles. Your nervous system understands the role immediately. Protect, warm, stay. You think about how romance changes when children are present. It becomes quieter, less performative, more grounded. Affection shifts from display to function. Touch becomes reassuring rather than exploratory. Love matures because it has to. And yet, it doesn't disappear. You feel it in the way adults glance at each other across the fire during the day, sharing a look of understanding when a child tests a boundary. You feel it in the way hands still find each other in the dark, not urgently, but steadily. Partnership deepens through shared purpose. You hear the animal near the entrance shift again, aware of the smaller bodies inside. Animals here learn the hierarchy, two protective instincts extending beyond species lines. The system adapts. You realize how much hope children represent here. They are the reason knowledge is preserved, the reason tools are refined, the reason stories are remembered accurately. Love invests forward. You think about how grief must feel sharper with children present, and yet, how joy must feel brighter too. A laugh echoes longer. A successful hunt means more than survival. It means growth. You feel that emotional weight now, not heavy, but anchoring. You hear another soft sound, a child's breathing deepening again. Safe, warm, held. The night holds them all. You realize something quietly profound. Love that includes children is less about passion and more about continuity. It's about making sure warmth exists tomorrow, that food is found again, that stories survive another generation. You feel proud to be part of that chain, even briefly. You adjust the fur again, tucking it closer around smaller shoulders. Someone notices and nods softly in the dark. Approval without words. You feel connected not just to the present group, but to countless nights like this before and after. Humans have always loved forward, even when they didn't know the word for it. As sleep returns, deeper and steadier now, you rest with the quiet understanding that romance didn't disappear when humans began raising children together. It evolved. Humor survives because it has to. You feel it flicker softly through the group, like a warm ember passed hand to hand, not loud, not disruptive, but essential. Even here, especially here, laughter finds a way, not the sharp, performative kind, the quiet kind that releases tension and reminds everyone they're still human. You remember it from earlier, by the fire. Someone misjudged a toss and sent a piece of root rolling dramatically across the stone floor. It bumped into a foot, then another, before stopping in the most inconvenient place possible. For a moment, there was silence, then a breathy snort, then another. Soon, soft laughter rippled through the group. No one was mocked, no one was embarrassed. The humor wasn't about failure, it was about shared imperfection. You feel the echo of that laughter now, warming you as much as the fire ever did. Humor here is not entertainment, it's emotional regulation. It resets the nervous system after stress. It signals safety. It tells the body, we made it through this moment. You hear a faint chuckle nearby in someone's sleep, as if their dreams have found something amusing. It makes you smile without thinking. Laughter is contagious here because tension is expensive. You think about how dangerous this world can be, how easily things can go wrong, how often fear could dominate if it were allowed to. Humor pushes back against that. It doesn't deny danger. It makes it bearable. You notice how jokes here are physical, situational, observational. Someone trips. Someone's hair catches the light strangely. Someone exaggerates a story with gestures so dramatic they become ridiculous. Humor lives in the body, not the abstract. You imagine a story told earlier about a hunt gone sideways, retold with just enough exaggeration to make everyone laugh instead of shudder. The danger is acknowledged, but softened. Fear is metabolized through laughter. That process is intimate. You feel your chest loosen at the memory. Your breath flows more easily. Humor here is permission to relax after vigilance. You think about how romance grows in that space. When people can laugh together, they trust each other with vulnerability. Laughter exposes teeth, breath, uncontrolled sounds. It breaks composure. That's risky. And because it's risky, it bonds. You feel that bond now, even in the quiet of sleep. Someone shifts beside you and mutters something incoherent. Half dream, half joke. You don't understand the words, but the tone is playful. It makes you smile again. The sound lands softly, harmlessly. You realize humor here is not sarcastic. It doesn't punch down. It doesn't rely on cruelty. Cruelty fractures trust, and trust is survival. Humor here lifts, includes, diffuses. You think about teasing gentle, affectionate, physical, a nudge, an exaggerated sigh, a mock groan when someone takes too long by the fire. These small moments keep resentment from taking root. Resentment wastes energy. You feel how laughter clears the emotional air the same way tending the fire clears smoke. It's maintenance, necessary upkeep of the group's inner climate. You imagine how children learn humor here not through jokes, but through watching reactions, seeing when laughter is welcomed, when it's not, learning empathy through timing, learning that making others feel safe is funny in the best way. You hear a soft laugh again, someone turning over, perhaps remembering something pleasant. It doesn't wake anyone. It doesn't need to. Humor lingers even in rest. You reflect on how humor and romance intertwine. Shared laughter creates a private language, a memory only two people hold, a glance across the fire that recalls a joke no one else heard. You feel that intimacy now, not excitement, but warmth, familiarity. You think about how humor might be one of the earliest forms of emotional intelligence, knowing when to lighten a moment, knowing when silence is better, knowing when laughter heals instead of harms. Those who mastered that skill were likely loved deeply. You feel a hand brush yours again, fingers curling briefly in a way that feels playful, affectionate. A small squeeze, a release. It's almost a joke itself, light, easy, unburdened. You smile in the dark. The fire crackles softly, as if in agreement. Sparks jump once, then settle. The shelter feels alive, not tense. Humor has done its job. You realize something quietly profound. In a world this harsh, joy is not optional. It is adaptive. Those who could laugh together could rest together. Those who rested together survived longer. Love flourished in the spaces humor protected. You let that understanding sink in as sleep deepens again. Your body feels lighter now, less braced. Laughter, even remembered, has softened something inside you. As consciousness drifts, one last thought floats gently through you, warm and reassuring. Before romance was serious, it learned how to smile in the firelight. Time feels different here. You sense it not as minutes or hours, but as temperature shifts, as hunger rising and settling, as light changing color on stone. There is no clock ticking softly in the background, no urgency disguised as productivity. Time stretches, breath lengthens, attention deepens. You notice how your body responds to that immediately. Your thoughts slow, not because you're tired, but because there's no reason to rush them. Nothing demands immediate reaction. The night unfolds at its own pace, and you are allowed to move with it. You hear the fire again, now reduced to a steady glow that barely makes sound. Earlier, it was lively crackling, popping, demanding attention. Now, it simply exists. Time has softened it. Love softens the same way. You think about how modern love is often rushed, accelerated by schedules, deadlines, expectations. Here, love has no timeline. It grows in repetition, not milestones. No anniversaries, no countdowns. Just nights stacked gently on top of each other. You feel the body beside you shift slightly, settling deeper. That movement isn't checked against anything. There's no worry about waking too late or wasting time. Rest is valued here. Recovery matters. You let your own body sink further too, giving yourself permission to exist without urgency. You realize that patience thrives in this environment. When there is no pressure to optimize time, people listen longer, watch more closely, notice subtle changes. Love benefits from that patience. It allows understanding to deepen rather than rush to conclusions. You hear someone breathe deeply, exhaling fully. That sound feels like an invitation. You match it without thinking. Inhale slowly, exhale completely. Time loosens its grip. You think about how storytelling works here. Stories are told slowly, often repeated, evolving slightly each time. No one complains about hearing the same one again. Familiarity is comforting. Each retelling strengthens memory and connection. Love works the same way. You remember earlier, sitting by the fire, how conversation drifted without agenda. Long pauses weren't awkward. Silence wasn't something to fill. It was something to share. That shared silence carries into the night now. You hear the animal near the entrance shift again, then settle. Its rhythm hasn't changed for a while. That tells you hours have passed, or maybe minutes. It doesn't matter. You feel safe enough not to measure it. You think about how impatience creates conflict, how rushing leads to misunderstanding. Here, there is no reward for speed. Quick decisions can be dangerous. Thoughtful pacing saves lives. That mindset shapes romance profoundly. Affection isn't demanded. It's allowed to arrive when it arrives. Touch isn't rushed toward outcome. It rests where it is useful, where it feels right. You feel that ease now in the way your hand rests naturally, uncurled, relaxed. There's no urgency to move it, no expectation attached. You realize something gently astonishing. When time is abundant, love doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't perform. It doesn't escalate. It doesn't rush toward labels. It simply repeats itself quietly until it becomes undeniable. You think about how attraction must feel here, slow burning, grounded, inevitable, not sparked by novelty, but by reliability, by watching someone show up again and again, unchanged in their care. You feel gratitude for that slowness. You hear the faint drip of water again, still steady, still patient. It has been marking time without anyone listening to it consciously. Now you notice it again, and it feels almost friendly. Drip, pause, drip. Your breathing matches it. You feel the person beside you adjust again, perhaps reaching deeper sleep. Their weight settles more fully against you. That closeness has accumulated over hours without effort. You think about how many modern relationships struggle because time is fragmented, moments stolen instead of shared. Here, time is the medium love lives in, not an obstacle. You let that idea wash through you. You feel sleep deepen, not suddenly, but gradually, like a tide rising without urgency. No alarms will interrupt it. No artificial light will pull you out prematurely. You rest because rest is allowed. You realize that patience might be one of the most romantic qualities early humans ever cultivated. It kept them alive. It kept them together. As your thoughts drift and soften, one final understanding settles gently into you. Love lasts longer when time is allowed to move slowly. Grief makes love deeper here, not smaller. You feel that truth quietly, the way you feel cold before you shiver. It doesn't announce itself. It settles into the body as an awareness that nothing in this world is guaranteed, not warmth, not safety, not tomorrow. And yet, love does not retreat from that reality. It leans into it. You sense it in the way people sleep closer after loss, in the way touch lingers a little longer, in the way fires are tended more carefully, as if precision itself could protect against absence. You remember earlier days ago, maybe longer when the group returned quieter than usual. Fewer footsteps, one rhythm missing. No explanation was needed. The body knew before the mind did. Space felt wrong. Sound felt incomplete. Grief here is not hidden. It moves openly through the group, expressed through behavior rather than speech. People work slower. They sit closer. They share food more deliberately. Love responds immediately, reshaping itself to hold the loss. You feel the weight of that understanding now as you lie here, wrapped in warmth that exists precisely because it can disappear. You think about how grief teaches tenderness. When you know how easily someone can be gone, you stop withholding care. You stop assuming time will always be available later. Affection becomes immediate. Presence becomes urgent. You feel that urgency in the way a hand rests against you now, not tight, not fearful, but certain, as if to say, "You're here. I know it. I'm not wasting this moment." That certainty is powerful. You listen to the night and realize it sounds different after loss. Quieter in some places, louder in others. The fire seems more significant, breathing more noticeable. Every sound is a reminder of what remains. You don't turn away from that awareness. No one does here. Turning away costs too much. You think about how grief must have shaped early human bonding. Losing someone would have been common, sudden, unpredictable. To survive emotionally, people had to learn how to love without denying impermanence. That kind of love is brave. You feel it in the way people remember, not with shrines or names carved in stone, but through stories retold accurately, through habits preserved, through tools passed down. Love keeps the lost present through continuity. You notice how a sleeping spot nearby remains empty tonight, not avoided, not filled immediately. Space is allowed for absence. Respect is physical here. You feel a quiet ache in your chest, not sharp, not overwhelming, just real. Grief doesn't demand collapse. It asks for acknowledgement. You acknowledge it by staying close. You think about how grief deepens intimacy because it strips away illusion. There is no pretending love will protect you from pain. Love here exists alongside pain, not as its antidote, but as its companion. You feel your own vulnerability in that realization, and instead of fear, you feel connection. The person beside you shifts slightly, perhaps in response to a dream, perhaps to the same thought. Their breath catches briefly, then smooths out again. You place your hand there instinctively, grounding them. They respond by moving closer. Grief invites touch. You imagine the moments after loss, how bodies would have gathered, how silence would have stretched, how food would have been prepared anyway, because the living still need nourishment. Love continues its work, even when hearts are heavy. You feel admiration for that resilience. You think about modern discomfort with grief, how often it's rushed, hidden, medicated away. Here, grief is integrated. It slows the group. It reshapes priorities. It deepens bonds. Love grows roots in that soil. You feel the warmth around you again and realize how much of it exists because people refuse to detach, because they continue choosing closeness even when closeness risks pain. That choice is romantic in the truest sense. You hear the animal near the entrance stir, sensing the group's emotional state even in sleep. It remains close, protective. Animals understand grief through energy, not words. You breathe slowly, letting the weight of this understanding settle without resistance. You realize something gently, profoundly human. Grief is the proof that love mattered. And here, in a world that accepts grief as part of life, love is allowed to be deep because it is not required to be safe. You rest in that truth now, held by warmth and breath and shared vulnerability. You don't push the feeling away. You let it exist alongside comfort. As sleep returns, softer and heavier than before, one last thought moves through you, like a quiet ember. Love grows strongest where loss has been honored. Love exists without possessions here. You notice that almost immediately when your mind drifts toward what belongs to whom and finds very little to count. There are tools, yes, fur wraps, stones shaped by hand, but none of it feels owned in the way you understand ownership. Everything is held lightly, shared easily, returned without ceremony, and love moves the same way. You feel it in the absence of claiming gestures. No one marks you as theirs. No symbols bind you publicly. No rings. No contracts. No declarations carved into permanence. And yet, you have never felt more chosen. You are chosen because someone sits beside you again. Because someone shares warmth again. Because someone plans with you again. That repetition replaces possession. You shift slightly, and feel how nothing tugs you back, not physically, not emotionally. There is no grip, no fear-driven attachment. And paradoxically, that freedom makes you feel more connected, not less. You realize something quietly powerful. When people cannot own each other, they must keep choosing each other. That choice renews itself daily, nightly, moment by moment. You think about how modern love often mistakes possession for security, how mine becomes shorthand for safety. Here, safety comes from visibility, from contribution, from presence that doesn't disappear when it's inconvenient. You feel that presence now, steady and unforced. You notice how tools are passed hand to hand without hesitation. A blade used by one person earlier rests near another now. No guarding, no accounting. Trust is embedded in the system because without it, everything slows down dangerously. Love here mirrors that trust. Affection is offered without fear that it will be taken away and used as leverage. Care is given without keeping score. You don't feel watched. You don't feel tested. You feel at ease. You hear someone rise briefly to tend the fire again. They don't ask permission. They don't announce it. They simply notice a need and act. When they return, their place is still there. No one has taken it. Nothing has shifted. Belonging does not require guarding. You think about jealousy again, and how closely it ties to ownership, how fear grows when love is treated like a finite object rather than a living process. Here, love is renewable because it's rooted in action, not entitlement. You feel gratitude for that clarity. You notice your own hands now empty, relaxed, open. You are not holding on to anything except warmth. Nothing feels like it could be taken from you because nothing is framed as yours to lose. You think about gifts here. When something is made for someone, a tool, a wrap, a necklace, it carries meaning, but not exclusivity. It can be shared, reused, passed on. Its value comes from function and story, not from restricting access. Love functions the same way. You feel the person beside you breathe, steady and calm. They are not clinging to you for reassurance. They don't need to. The reassurance comes from the system working. You realize something subtle. When love is not tied to possession, it becomes harder to manipulate. No one can threaten withdrawal as punishment. No one can hoard affection to gain power. Care is too visible for that. If someone stops showing up, everyone notices. Accountability is communal. You hear the animal near the entrance shift again, still guarding without being owned. It stays because it wants to. Because this place offers warmth, food, safety, not because it is trapped. You smile faintly at the parallel. You think about how romantic stories often fixate on exclusivity as proof of devotion. But here, devotion looks different. It looks like reliability, like planning, like shared labor, like adjusting bedding so someone else sleeps better. You feel that devotion now, surrounding you quietly. You imagine waking tomorrow and moving through the day without ever thinking, "Is this mine?" Instead, the question will be, what needs doing? Love flows toward need, not toward claim. That orientation feels deeply calming. You hear a soft sound fabric brushing stone as someone adjusts. They don't apologize. There is no need. Space is shared. Noise is tolerated. Presence is accepted. You realize how freeing it is not to curate yourself as someone worthy of being kept. You are not kept here. You are welcomed, and welcoming can be renewed endlessly. You feel the warmth around you again, steady and sufficient. No anxiety creeps in, no fear of being replaced. Love here doesn't compete. It cooperates. You let your breathing deepen further, trusting that nothing needs to be secured before you rest. Nothing needs to be promised. Nothing needs to be owned. You are already included. As sleep drifts closer, one last understanding settles gently into you, like a warm stone placed at just the right spot. The most romantic love is the one that doesn't trap, it stays. The science of attachment is already alive here, long before anyone names it. You feel it working quietly beneath awareness, like heat traveling through stone. No one explains it, no one measures it, and yet your body responds with precision. Touch lowers your heart rate. Warmth eases tension. Familiar breathing calms your own. Chemistry hums softly in the background, doing exactly what it evolved to do. You feel safe. That safety is not imagined. It is physiological. Your nervous system has shifted into a different mode, less alert, more connected. Muscles release. Breath deepens. Digestion resumes its slow, steady work. You are not bracing anymore. This is attachment in its purest form. You feel it when a hand rests against your back, not pressing, just present. Skin-to-skin contact sends signals your body understands instantly. Oxytocin flows. Cortisol drops. You don't know these words yet, but you feel their effects. You soften. You think about how attachment forms here not through grand declarations, but through repeated regulation. Someone notices when you're cold. Someone responds. Someone notices when you're tired. Someone adjusts. Your body learns, slowly and reliably. That distress is followed by care. That learning changes you. You notice how quickly your system settles now compared to earlier nights, how little effort it takes to relax. That's not coincidence. That's conditioning. Gentle, consistent, loving conditioning. You hear breathing beside you again, steady, deep. Your own breath falls into rhythm with it, the way pendulums eventually synchronize when placed near each other. No one instructs this. Bodies simply respond. Attachment is contagious. You think about how early humans survived, not because they were strongest individually, but because they could co-regulate. Fear was shared. Calm was shared. Warmth was shared. The group functioned as a single nervous system, distributing stress so no one carried it alone. You feel that distribution now. Your worries, whatever they were, feel lighter, diluted by proximity. You realize that attachment here is not anxious. It doesn't cling or demand reassurance. It doesn't test. It doesn't spiral. That's because consistency has removed uncertainty. The body doesn't stay anxious when the pattern is reliable. Love feels calm here because it is predictable. You notice how often touch occurs without urgency. A hand rests. A shoulder leans. A foot nudges another foot gently for warmth. None of it is dramatic. All of it is effective. Each contact reinforces the same message: you are not alone. Your body records that message deeply. You think about infants now, how they would have been held constantly, passed from body to body, rarely set down alone. Their nervous systems developing in constant contact with warmth, heartbeat, breath. Attachment was built into the structure of daily life. Romantic love grows from the same roots. You feel how familiar this closeness has already become, even though it hasn't been long. That speed is not accidental. The human brain is designed to attach quickly under conditions of shared vulnerability and care. You are vulnerable here. You are cared for. Attachment follows naturally. You notice how your thoughts have quieted. There's less inner narration, less self-evaluation, less planning. That mental quiet is another sign your brain doesn't need to stay alert when safety is externalized. You trust the environment to hold you. You hear a faint sound outside again, wind brushing against stone. Your body registers it, then releases. The animal nearby remains calm. The breathing around you doesn't change. That information cascades through the group, soothing everyone simultaneously. This is co-regulation in action. You realize something subtle. Attachment here is not just between individuals, it's between people and place. The shelter, the fire, the sounds, the routines, all of it participates in soothing the nervous system. Love is environmental. You feel gratitude again, not sharp, not emotional, but embodied. Your body is grateful to rest, grateful to be held, grateful not to be alone in the dark. You think about how modern love often struggles because attachment is fragmented physical closeness without emotional safety, or emotional closeness without physical presence. Here, the two are inseparable. Touch always means something. Presence always counts. You feel that integrity now. You notice how sleep edges closer, deeper than before. Not collapse, but trust-driven rest. The kind that repairs rather than escapes. You imagine waking tomorrow with this same nervous system state calm, regulated, connected. How different life would feel. How resilient you would be. That resilience is why this love worked. You breathe slowly, feeling your chest rise and fall against another body's warmth. The rhythm is steady, reassuring, familiar now. Your brain doesn't need words to understand what's happening. It knows this feeling. It remembers this pattern. This is how humans learn to feel safe with each other. As sleep finally carries you deeper, one last realization settles gently into your body, not your mind. Before love was explained, it was regulated. Modern love feels noisier by comparison. You notice that contrast gently, without judgment, as your mind drifts toward the world you came from. Notifications, schedules, conversations layered on top of conversations, choices branching endlessly. Here, there is none of that. Love doesn't compete with noise because noise doesn't exist. You feel how quiet allows intimacy to breathe. In this place, attention isn't fractured. When someone looks at you, they are actually looking. When someone touches you, nothing else is happening at the same time. No background hum of obligation pulls focus away. Presence is complete, or it isn't offered at all. That completeness feels luxurious. You think about how modern love often arrives with commentary analysis. Explanation, reassurance, layered on reassurance. Here, love arrives as experience. You don't talk about closeness. You feel it. You don't wonder if someone cares. You see it in what they do when it's inconvenient. You feel that clarity now, settled deep in your body. You remember how earlier, someone adjusted the fire instead of continuing a story. No apology, no explanation. The need was obvious. Action replaced conversation. That efficiency prevents resentment from forming. Nothing festers in silence because silence here isn't avoidance, it's rest. You realize how much modern love is shaped by abstraction, feelings named instead of felt, time measured instead of inhabited, safety promised instead of practiced. Here, none of that survives. Reality strips love down to its essentials. Warmth, food, attention, reliability. You feel those essentials surrounding you now. You think about how modern romance often feels performative gestures designed to be seen, documented, remembered. Here, no one is watching. No one records. Love exists even if no one tells the story later. That anonymity makes it purer. You feel how little energy is spent managing impressions. There is no audience to impress, no identity to curate. You are known by how you move through shared tasks, not by how you present yourself. You breathe more deeply at that thought. You notice how love here is slow because life is slow. Without constant interruption, emotions have time to settle into something durable. Disagreements don't escalate because they aren't fueled by accumulated stress. People sleep when they're tired, eat when they're hungry, talk when there's something to say. You imagine bringing this rhythm forward into a world of glowing screens and endless chatter. The contrast feels stark, but the lesson feels clear. Love thrives where attention is protected. You hear the fire again, almost gone now, just a faint glow. Someone will wake before dawn to feed it again. That promise doesn't need to be spoken. It's embedded in routine. You think about how routines anchor love. In modern life, routines are often the first thing sacrificed. Here, they are sacred because they keep people alive. Love rides on their stability. You feel gratitude for that insight. You feel the body beside you shift slightly. Still there. Still warm. Nothing has changed. That continuity feels grounding. You don't need reassurance because continuity is reassurance. You realize something important. Modern love often feels fragile because it's built on emotion alone. This love is resilient because it's built on systems. Systems of care, systems of rest, systems of attention. Emotion flows more safely inside those structures. You imagine waking tomorrow and carrying even a fraction of this simplicity with you, turning down noise, slowing response time, letting touch be enough, letting presence matter more than explanation. You feel that intention settle gently without urgency. You hear a bird call faintly outside early, tentative. Dawn approaches. The night is almost complete. You feel satisfied, not rushed. The hours have done their work. You let your eyes remain closed, savoring the last quiet moments before morning tasks begin. As awareness softens again, one final reflection moves through you, calm and certain. Love didn't become complicated because humans changed. It became complicated because the world grew louder. And here, in the quiet, you remember what it sounded like before. You carry caveman love forward without realizing it. You feel that truth settle gently as the night begins to thin, as darkness loosens its hold and the world prepares slowly, patiently for morning. Nothing dramatic changes yet. No sudden light, no announcement. Just a subtle shift in temperature, in sound, in the way bodies begin to stir from deep rest. You are still here, still warm, still connected. And something has stayed with you. You notice it first in your body, the ease in your chest, the absence of urgency, the quiet confidence that you don't need to grasp or prove anything to be held. This feeling doesn't belong only to this place. It belongs to you. You realize that caveman love was never left behind. It traveled forward in the nervous system, in instincts, in the deep comfort of shared presence. You carry it every time you feel calmer when someone sits beside you, every time silence feels safe instead of awkward, every time touch soothes instead of startles. You hear the animal near the entrance rise now, stretching, shaking off sleep. The sound ripples through the shelter, waking others gently. Someone feeds the fire again, small movements practiced and quiet. The day resumes without rush. Love transitions smoothly here from night to morning, from rest to action. There is no emotional whiplash, no sudden separation between intimacy and responsibility. You think about how modern life often splits those things apart. Here, love and labor are not opposites. Caring for each other is part of the work. Work is one of the ways love shows itself. You sit up slowly, feeling the stone beneath you, the fur sliding from your shoulders. Someone hands you warm water. No greeting, no explanation, just need met again. You take a sip. The warmth spreads through you. Simple, satisfying. You realize that caveman love was romantic because it was integrated. It wasn't scheduled. It wasn't compartmentalized. It didn't wait for the right moment. It lived inside every shared task. You carry that forward every time you feel closer to someone while doing something ordinary together. Cooking, walking, fixing something side by side. Your body recognizes those moments as intimacy because it remembers this. You stand now, stretching slowly, joints stiff but capable. Someone notices and mirrors the movement unconsciously. Synchrony appears without intention. You feel grounded. You look around the shelter at the fire, the stone walls, the worn bedding, the marks left by many hands over many nights. This place has held countless small acts of love, none of them dramatic, all of them meaningful. You understand now why caveman love feels more romantic in hindsight. It wasn't distracted. It didn't negotiate itself into exhaustion. It didn't compare itself into insecurity. It didn't perform itself into fragility. It simply showed up. You think about how much of modern longing is actually a longing for regulation, for safety, for warmth without strings attached, for presence that doesn't require constant explanation. That longing makes sense. Your nervous system evolved here. You feel gratitude for that knowledge, not sadness, not nostalgia, just clarity. You don't need to live in a cave to love like this. You just need to remember what matters. Consistency, touch, shared rhythm, attention without agenda. You feel those values settle quietly, not as a list to follow, but as sensations your body already understands. You step outside briefly, feeling the cool air on your skin. Dawn light brushes the horizon faintly. The world feels wide, but not overwhelming. You are not small here. You are part of something continuous. You breathe deeply. You think about how you will carry this forward into conversations, into relationships, into moments of stress. You will recognize when love feels too loud, too rushed, too fragmented. And you will know another way exists, a quieter way, a warmer way, a way that lasts. You return to the shelter, rejoining the group effortlessly, No announcement. No reintegration needed. You were never really apart. As the day begins, you feel something steady within you, a memory not of events, but of feeling. And you understand, finally, why caveman love endures in the imagination. Because it was built for survival, and what survives teaches us how to love. Now, everything begins to soften. You feel the edges of the story blur gently, like firelight dimming as embers settle into a steady, comforting glow. There is no need to hold on to details anymore. No need to remember names, places, or timelines. What matters has already landed where it needs to land in your body, in your breath, in the quiet spaces between thoughts. You notice how calm feels different now, heavier, warmer, more earned. Your shoulders sink just a little deeper. Your jaw loosens. Your hands rest without gripping. You don't need to imagine the cave anymore, or the fire, or the shared warmth. Those sensations have translated themselves into something simpler ease. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Let it pause at the top. Then release it gently through your mouth. You are safe right now. You don't need to survive anything tonight. You don't need to prove closeness, or protect love, or solve anything at all. The ancient work is done. The fire has been tended. The shelter holds. The nervous system knows what to do next. Sleep. If thoughts wander, let them wander like smoke present for a moment, then gone. You don't have to follow them. You don't have to fix them. Just notice the weight of your body where it rests. Notice the steady rhythm of your breath. Notice how nothing is being asked of you. You are allowed to rest without earning it. You are allowed to be held by stillness. You are allowed to disappear into sleep for a while. And somewhere, deep and quiet, that ancient rhythm continues warmth, breath, closeness, care, not as a story anymore, but as a memory. Your body has always known. Let your eyes stay closed. Let the night finish its work. You've done enough for today. Sweet dreams.